What's up, producers? Today I want to talk about how to get a clean mix in your dance track, in your electronic music track without mixing. So a clean mix without mixing. How are we going to do this? We're going to do it by jumping into the session and looking at the layers and taking production decisions to actually make a song sound clean. Unlike what you've believed and unlike what the industry tries to sell you, it's not mixing that you need help with, it's production and the fundamentals of production. So let's jump in. Let's see what's happening. So this is a track that you have, and this track is not even fully mixed. I'm just going to show you, like, just by thinking this way, how we could get a track already sounding great. So let's check it out. Let's listen to it. All right, so you've heard this in other trainings, in other videos, in other YouTube videos that I've done. It's a track that I haven't released, but I'm using it for training because there's a lot of different things here that could be very helpful for you. So what I want to do is I want to start off with the kick, and I want us to like start visualizing and seeing what frequencies we're occupying with the instruments that we have, because it all comes down to arrangement. So let's first play and hear the kick. I like the kick. It has a top end sizzle, it has big body, it has big sub. When we look at the overall sound, we see that it's very sub heavy with a bit of, and I've kind of increased the highs. Even if I don't have this EQ, the kick sounds good. The EQ sounds great. I just want to bring up that sizzle a bit more right here. I'm happy with the kick. So it's all about the instruments and the sounds that you pick and how you pick them, how you layer them together that leads to something sounding clean. The mixing is just that top remaining 5% of it. So let's bring on the bass and let's see what's happening in the bass. So the bass is being sidechained. Why? So when the kick comes in, the bass gets out of the way. Basic. You can consider this being a mixing concept, but overall we're just sidechaining to remove some bass out of the way of the kick, so the kick and the bass don't play really at the same time. And you see the bass itself is kind of in similar frequencies as the kick with a bit more mid-range. If we look at them together on the master channel, this is the EQ on the master channel. So far, in terms of mixing, nothing really needs to be done because you have a kick and a bass. They both occupy fairly the same region. They sound good. The composition is good. It's grooving well. I'm happy with it. And there's a lot of space in the mids and the highs now to occupy. So as we're occupying the space with layers, we got to be mindful. Now, we can't just layer stuff for the sake of layering. You got to occupy the frequency space in a way where everything has its own region and nothing's really fighting heavily. So if we bring on the drums, we did a training on how to make your drums sound wide by panning. You could check it out in my other videos. So put the snare on, or like a clap. So the clap is kind of like happening in this region. It's a bit centered. Let's bring on these instruments right here. These are very panned, so they, even though they're in the mid and highs, they're occupying side space a lot. Let's look at the master chain again to see the kick, bass, and drums, what regions they occupy, and try to, by watching it, try to hear it as well to kind of create that connection. We still have a lot happening in the mid-range. We still have a lot of space in the mid-range. The highs are to the side and they're sizzly, they're drums. So we still have space to add in those regions, but we got to be careful. Now, if we bring in the pads, let me solo the pads. It's being sidechained right now, by the way. The pads itself have a very warm sound, are mid-range, higher range, and we see they're pushed back in the mix on purpose. They're there to fill up the space and fill up the gap. Let me turn this on with the rest so far. Within the pads, see, this is in the mid-range as well. They're panned towards each other, against each other. See, there's a couple of layers in there. They give color, they give warmth, they fill up the space, and they're occupying the kind of the high mids, low highs, this region overall in the track, which there's not much going on aside from the hi-hats that are quite spread and they're quite forward, the hi-hats. But these pads are spread, they're center spread, pushed back, a bit warmer. So just listen to that cue in the track. Now this is a melodic kind of progressive track, melodic house track, whatever you want to call it. So this pad is occupying a lot of melodic space in a sense of like it has harmonies, it has melodies, and it's pushed back in the back to fill up the space of the drums. Now we only have two other main instruments. We got the plucks and the leads because we don't have space to add shitloads of stuff, right? So we got to be careful. The pluck itself, let's listen to it. The pluck is very center heavy. It's not to the sides, and it occupies the mids and the highs. Remember, in this region so far, what do we have? We have the high drum, the percussive drums that are pushed to the side, and we got the pads that are pushed back in the background of the track. Now we have an instrument in this region for once. For when I say for once, like finally we have an instrument in this region that's actually in your face, more present, more closer, in a center. Right? So everything has its space. The pads are spread in the background. The drums are spread to the forefront. The plucks are a bit more centered. They're not fully centered, but they're a bit more centered, occupying that space. And these three group of instruments occupy similar spaces, but they've been positioned in a 3D space of the sound where it makes sense. They each have their space. Very minimal mixing. Yes, I do have some side chaining going on, but this is minimal stuff. My chains aren't extremely long, right? I'm just positioning stuff properly. Of course, there's something here that I haven't told you yet. There's a whole strategy on how to pick sounds. We teach that a lot in our program because it's more detailed. It takes a lot of like looking at your sessions and seeing what you're doing wrong to kind of point that out to you. But overall, like once we have selected the right sounds, everything needs to have its space. See, there's no surgical EQ happening. I'm not over processing anything. And it's straightforward. So let's hear the plucks in the track. It's a bit loud. Now let's listen to the lead, the last instrument. So right at the beginning, that distorted sound, it's an effect that I use, that sidechain to the kick, that introduces the entrance of the drop. But then there's like a sound that comes to the right, a lead sound on the right, and a lead sound to the left. Let's hear them again and see which frequency ranges they occupy. While they both occupy these regions, they're a bit more high heavy. And I would say the instruments they would clash with the most are the plucks. But in the way they're positioned, that won't happen. So I purposely panned one to the left, one to the right, and it comes in as a story. One to the right, it's a bit unbalanced on purpose, and then goes to the left, a bit unbalanced, and it leaves the plucks in the middle. It doesn't touch the plucks. So this is how, when all combined together, and these effects are very minimal, things fit right. And again, we've done minimal processing. See, it's full, it's layered, and whenever the lead comes in, we're able to focus on it, and we don't feel like it's too much. And I could still spend some time mixing this to give a bit more brightness, but I mean, another 20 minutes and I could play this in a club and it's going to sound good. It's going to sound solid. But all this to say, it's not mixing that you need to get better at. It's thinking in production, how to position your sounds. Some might say that is mixing. Not really, because the sound selection, the octaves you're in, the composition, how much rhythmic complexity there is, all these things play a role in how muddy a track is, and none of those are mixing. Hope this helps, guys. Think in fundamentals first, always, and that's what we actually teach in our program. And we jump into sessions and understand where a producer is in their mind and help them understand the fundamentals so they could apply to their own music and get their music to sound professional and even effortless in a lot of cases. So thank you so much. If you want to book a call with us and chat, see if we could help you, book a call below. If you have any questions, comment below as well. We'll speak soon. See you guys.